Good morning. My name is Sharon Crust, and my pronouns are she, her. I am president of your board of trustees. If you're here for the first time, thank you for joining us. We look forward to getting to know you. We invite everyone present to join us for our in-person coffee hour immediately following the service. During our service, there's a time for sharing the joys and sorrows of our lives with one another. Cards for sharing your joy and sorrow are on the table as you come in by the entrance. We ask that you pick them up and fill them out prior to that section of the service. Rooted in the values of Unitarian Universalism, we covenant to be a congregation where people of all generations find meaning and purpose. We work to be a congregation that champions justice by actively working to dismantle oppression, uplift marginalized voices, and build diverse, multicultural communities of fairness and belonging. We are so glad you're here with us today, and we hope you find the service meaningful and inspiring.
Good morning. First, I want to say thank you to Jill for lowering my blood pressure and my heart rate. So, my name is Matt Russell. We're hoping that that doesn't happen anymore. So, my name's Matt Russell. Pronouns are he, him. I am one of the members of the Ministerial Search Committee, but this morning, more importantly, I am the worship associate for this service this morning. So, a lit chalice is the symbol of our faith as Unitarian Universalists. It's not only inspiring hope, but it ignites our will to build a beloved community. And we have Sandra here to light the chalice this morning. So, as we light the chalice in the sanctuary, I invite those on our... There we go. Oh, I forgot to light the little tea light, so thank you. As we light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those on Zoom to light a chalice or a candle or to type in your location in the chat. So the opening words that I chose for this morning are by Susan Majan, and she's currently a U.S. Navy chaplain stationed in Rhode Island. And this is entitled Call from Beyond. From beyond the playful summer clouds, beyond the earth's thin blue line, from beyond the bright moon and meteor showers, we hear the call to look and listen carefully, to turn away from a world that buys and sells happiness, to fully experience the luring whisper of your heart's truth. Why not today? Why not now? We are here and together at home in this evolving place, home in this ever-changing breath and body, home in this dewy morning, even as it reaches towards a hot, high noon. We hear the call from beyond and deep within, and we do not hear it alone. Come, let us worship together.
Please rise in body or in spirit as we join together in singing hymn number 305, De Colores. We'll be doing one verse in English and then the Spanish verse.
So if you'd remain standing. Yes. So if you'd please join me in saying our covenant. It's on the screen and it's also printed in your bulletin. And we will say this again, first in English and then in Spanish. So love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. And now our covenant in Spanish. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor, y ayudarnos a nosotros. Este es nuestro pacto. Please be seated. So this community, this congregation here, UUI, is always doing something. There's always something happening. If you take a look in your bulletin, there's a list of other events that are happening throughout the week and today. But the one that I'm involved in, it happens today after this service. Over in the Commons building, behind the red brick RE building, there is a little building called the Commons. It's that way? My sense of direction is just about that good. So anyway, there is a mending workshop after this service. So we're going to learn how to keep your favorite clothes in the closet and out of the landfill. Refreshments will be provided. We've got several sewing machines. We've got all kinds of resources and information over there. Even if you don't have something that needs to be mended, come over and maybe you can learn something, or maybe you can help something if this is really your thing and you're an expert in it. I'm open to both, but I have my sewing machine over there and I'm going to be ready to help. And if you don't know where the RE building is, or the Commons building is, obviously don't ask me because I'm horrible with directions, but there are lots of people here who can help you find that. So now we get to transition to a little bit different part of the service, which is instead of announcing things, we're sharing things. So we're going into the joys and sorrows. So as the music plays, I invite the people in the sanctuary to come up and drop a stone into the bowl here in front. Please use both sides of the table. And if you've written your joy or sorrow on a card, you can please leave it in the basket up here, and it will be read by me after we're done with this part of the service. I'm sorry, it'll be read aloud. For those of you who are on Zoom, we invite you to use the chat feature. Please put in all caps either joy or sorrow, plus your name, pronouns at the beginning of what you're sharing, if you would like me to read it out loud in the sanctuary. You can also simply symbolically drop a stone into the bowl by typing drop stone or just DS. Thank you. So, my gosh, there is quite a stack of joys and sorrows here that I will go through in a moment, but online through Zoom, we have a couple from Don, Joy, that he is so lucky to be receiving support and understanding from family and friends and members of UUI after the passing of his cat, Annabelle. And Breyer shares two joys. So they were overwhelmed with the incredible General Assembly this year. There was protest and resistance, all of the roles and talents needed for social change, and how transphobia is a tool of fascism. And they said they'd be excited to talk about it during our GA service, which is coming up. Also, they adopted a cat this week. His name is David, and he's a total love bug and quite the ham. Interesting. A number of people shared about the success of the rummage sale that we had. So that happened here yesterday, and one of the notes here says that we raised $3,200 for UUI. So a note here about deep gratitude to all of the helpers, and especially Christine, who was the team lead for this. So Sarah shares a joy that her son Evan is moving to New York City this week to attend Union Theological Seminary. I'm so proud of and excited for him. And Charlotte shares that my birthday is July 4th, and I'll be 7. Well, July 8th is my birthday, and I'll be 60, so July is great. Dustin shares a joy that he recently returned from supporting a Lakota Sundance in South Dakota, witnessed a life-changing act of worship. And Catherine shares a joy. Next week, I'm going to Michigan, and then I'm going to come home and go to Mandarin camp. I'm so excited. Good for you. And Lydia also shares a joy and a sorrow. I'm sad I had to end camp when there's so many more weeks off, but I'm also happy to end it because I'm going to go to the dunes. Ooh. And Max shares a joy that I played my keyboard for the first time in a few months. Getting back to things is good. And Zoe shares a joy. Zoe has a new baby cousin and a new kitten. So, even as many joys and sorrows as were shared this morning, I know that there are many more that are not shared within the community. There is always a joy in somebody's life or a sorrow to be lamented, and I enjoy hearing these and sharing them. But let's pause for a moment for a bit of prayer and meditation. So Reverend Dawn added something in here from Reverend Rebecca Savage. And so let me read this to you. Spirit of life, eternal beloved of mystery and grace, receive our prayer. We come before that which is greater than ourselves in gratitude for the fullness of our lives, for the anguish and grief that inform our mission to side with love again and again and again, for the suffering and disenfranchisement of the people that foment our passion for justice and wholeness, for complex lives, for hard lives, for real, full, and overwhelming lives. We give thanks for the blessings that we have been given, the reassurance of community, the steady warmth of hope, and the unwavering faith that there will be better days ahead. We give thanks and seek your grace. Spirit of love, come alongside with all the holy nudges and sharp elbows that we need so that we may live in such a way that we celebrate all the blessings that we have been given, so we may be the blessing in the world. Amen, and blessed be.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots only grow
There I am. Have any of you ever sung Spirit of Life in Spanish before? It's kind of cool, huh? So this is a time in our service when anyone of any age who would like to get a closer look can come up front. I see that we already have some takers. Awesome. Yeah, I see you, Oscar. You're so close already. There's kind of no point in getting on the floor, right? If you got a chair, you just keep it. I'm so happy to see you all on what I think is going to be a very hot day. But we're keeping it cool. So, I know not quite as bad as it was early in the week, but still. So I wanted to share a story with you, because I don't know if you know this, and you guys are going to get sung out before Reverend Dawn's sermon, but she is in Mexico right now and working on learning Spanish even faster. She and I are both working on our Spanish. And there's some people from our congregation there with her as well, who are also working on their Spanish. So I wanted to tell you a little story, and parts of this might be familiar to you. And then maybe we can see if we can think about what value we see moving in this story. So, Jenna was sitting in her classroom doing math. She was trying to do math. She was, if I'm being honest, kind of struggling with math. She had erased her paper so much that it was starting to wear through. Have you ever done that? Where you've got your eraser and you're like, uh-oh. It was just embarrassing. Shihao, who sat next to her, was almost done with his work, and usually they finished at around the same time. But she was stuck with one problem halfway down the page, and Jenna was stubborn. She hated skipping over a problem and coming back to it. Then a shadow fell over her math paper. Shihao laid his paper down next to her math worksheet. Halfway down, Jenna saw the problem she was working on right now. He began solving it step by step, his pencil scratching, lifting his hand every now and then so she could see. As Shihao wrote, Jenna's mistake leaped out at her like a bolt of lightning. Got it, she said. She picked up her own pencil and finished the problem below Shihao's work. Good, he said. Help with this one? He pointed at a different problem, and that one Jenna knew how to do. She opened her mouth to explain it to Shihao, then realized that that might not work. He had moved to America from China not long ago and was still working on his English. He didn't understand a lot of what she and her classmates said. But he had still been able to help her, Jenna realized, because he hadn't used words to communicate. He had used numbers. She could do that. Quickly, Jenna wrote out the steps of the problem for Shihao to see. He began nodding his head as he watched her work. Okay, he said, yes, thank you. She smiled at him, which didn't use words either, and he went back to his seat. But it made Jenna think. She had sort of been avoiding Shihao because he spoke Chinese and she spoke English. But they could communicate with numbers just fine. How else could they communicate? The next time they were using the computers in the library, Jenna pulled up a map of China. She tapped Shihao's shoulder and pointed at the screen. Where? She asked, shrugging to show she didn't know where he was from. He grinned, pointing at a spot up in the northern part of China. Harban, he said. Jenna looked up Harban. There's a cathedral? She asked. She clicked images. Wow, you have a subway system? Whoa, there's an ice festival? What? That's so cool. No, it's cold, said Shihao with a grin. And Jenna cracked up at his joke. What would it be like, she wondered later, to move to Harban, a city on the other side of the world, to live somewhere where she didn't speak the language everyone else spoke, where you were so close to Russia that there was a Russian cathedral in your city, where there were such long, cold winters and you had to learn to ride the subway. What would that be like? After that, she and Shihao started sitting together at lunch. He showed her how to write his name, like this. It hit Jenna that Shihao wasn't just learning another language, he was learning a completely different way of writing ideas. Soon he would know how to read and speak in both. He was the only kid in her whole grade who would know how to do that. She borrowed a book from the library about learning Chinese. So I wonder, which of our shared values do you think this story could be about? What do you think, Catherine?
At the beginning of the story,
Mm-hmm.
when you said she was doing
Mm-hmm.
actually,
You're a math scientist.
and when I go up, they're not.
Are you going to move? Is that why you're going to Mandarin camp? Because you might move to China someday and work in STEM? That's very cool. So anybody got any ideas? Let's see, Jet Pig, let me think about this. Justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, generosity, ideas? What do you think? If the kids don't know, I'll ask the grown-ups, but I mean, let's be honest, the kids usually know. And there could be more than one even. All of them? That is a very interesting idea. It could be all of them. Crow, what's your thought? Love. We do keep love at the center of all of our values. I think so. And equity? Because things need to be even for both people? For all people? What do you think, Finn? Transformation? Interesting. So who do you see transforming in this story? What do you think? More Jenna? More Shihao? Who's transforming more, do you think? Shihao, you think? Having to be in a completely new place? Yeah. Mia, did you have a thought? Your hand's like kind of hanging over here. Nope. I also see pluralism in this story because there's a lot of different ways to be in the world. And one of the things that someone said to me once that I've always thought was really interesting is other people are not failed attempts at being you. They might just have their own thing. So we covenant through our pluralism value to embrace the ways that we're different and to have love and curiosity and respect. Yeah. So these are the values that Reverend Dawn and her fellow travelers are bringing on their trip to Mexico: to be curious and respectful, and to be open to change, and to learn things that will help us be better neighbors no matter where we live, right? And you can do those things right here. You don't have to go to Mexico to do those things, right? You can do them here. You can ask yourself questions about things you've been taking for granted. You can look at things from a different angle. You can look at them upside down and see if they look different. And maybe even learn another language, like people who go to Mandarin camp. You think so? All right, let us sing our way out to our E. 4 languages. What? Be open to new learning. May your lips speak truth into the world. May your heart and your hands do the work of justice.
May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace, as you go your way in peace.
Buenos dias, mi gente. Soy la Reverenda Dawn Cooley, and I am the interim minister of UUI. While I'm very grateful to be able to join you on Zoom this morning, I'm unable to be with you in person because the past 2 weeks I've been in the mountains of central Mexico, just south of Mexico City, in the city of Cuernavaca. I'm here with 3 UUI members and 1 All Souls member. We're here for immersion in the culture and language of Mexico. And an immersion it has been. We're staying with host families, eating incredible food, studying Spanish for 5 hours a day, and in the remaining time, visiting places that are central to this culture and these people, places rooted in both deep struggle and deep joy. We've laughed, we've cried, we've gotten sick, we've shared stories and asked big questions. It's been beautiful and humbling and surprising in all the best ways. Soon after I got here, I was sitting in the garden at school watching a butterfly move from flower to flower, and it struck me both Cuernavaca and Indianapolis are on the migratory path of the monarch butterflies. Every monarch butterfly owes its existence to a single fragile region here in central Mexico. It's where they overwinter, where millions gather each year in the mountains, clinging to oyamel fir trees in dense, trembling clusters. But along their migratory path from Canada to Mexico and everywhere in between, monarchs are losing the ecosystems that they depend on. Logging and industrial farming, pesticides, highways, climate change, it's all taking a toll. In the US, we've plowed under the milkweed, we're spraying chemicals across the fields, and we've paved over meadows where they once laid their eggs. The butterflies, once so abundant here in central Mexico that they blackened the sky, now hang on by a thread. Indianapolis and Cuernavaca were both part of this ancient and sacred journey. We're both bound to the survival of something small and fluttering and both incredibly fragile and incredibly strong. And that feels important to remember, especially this week. Not long ago, the US bombed Iran. Fear is in the air here in Mexico and wherever you are. The borders feel tighter. The politics feel meaner. The world feels cracked open in new and terrifying ways. And here I am in another country with a group of people trying to learn not just about Mexican culture, but about ourselves, about who we are, about how we show up in the world, and about what it takes to migrate, not just across land, but away from old ways of being, asking ourselves, what do we take with us? And what do we leave behind? It is almost a surreal experience. As I was preparing for this experience, I reached out to some social justice friends and Latina colleagues to ask for their advice. What should I know? What should I avoid? And with love and a little eye roll, more than one person said something along the lines of, whatever you do, just don't paint a mural. It made me laugh and wince a little because I knew exactly what they meant. We, especially those of us who've been steeped in US culture, are really good at arriving with plans, with ideas, with sketches already made and tools already packed. We want to help, which sounds noble, but so often I think what we actually mean is we want to fix or teach or do something meaningful, something visible, something that maybe we can show off as proof of our usefulness, maybe even sometimes our superiority. Something that says they couldn't do it themselves, so we did it for them. And that's the mural. It could be a literal mural or it could be symbolic. There's a great TED Talk by Ernesto Ceroli called Want to Help Someone? Shut up and listen. I'll put the link in our UUI Slack after the service. In the TED Talk, he describes a well-funded effort to start tomato farms in Zambia. It was classic international development, a foreign agency with money and a plan and a goal. They scoped out the climate, sunny and warm and perfect for tomatoes. They tilled the land, planted rows, and watched with pride as the plants flourished. They wondered why no one had planted tomatoes there before. Weren't they awesome for bringing this to the people? And then one night, the hippos came out of the nearby river and ate every single tomato. We didn't know they were hippos, he says. We never asked. We just assumed the local residents would be thrilled by her help. And then, he adds dryly, at least we fed the hippos. It's funny, but it's also a bit of a gut punch, right? And one that sounds all too familiar. We show up with our best intentions, our imported logic, our checklist of deliverables, and we never, or rarely, stop to ask what's already true about the place we're in. Who lives there? What's sacred? What is the likelihood of interference by hippos? There are stories of missionaries who arrive in rural villages and tear down homes to build churches no one asked for, or health aid groups that ship thousands of shoes to countries where local cobblers depend on that work to survive. There are stories of volunteer dentists who pull teeth instead of teaching hygiene or prevention because extractions look much better on paper and in donor reports. And it's not just over there. We do this at home too. After every hurricane or wildfire, you'll hear relief organizations begging people, please stop sending diapers. We don't need bottled water. What we really need is cash, they say. What we really need is volunteers who will take direction. But somehow we often think we know better, so we fill trucks with old clothes and semi-broken appliances and send them off with pride, being glad that we helped, never stopping to ask whether they'll actually help or just create more work for someone else. Someone I know once called this unhelpful helping. We assume we know what's needed and others should be grateful for the help. We don't ask, we don't listen, we just assume we know better. And when it goes wrong, we rarely stop to ask, who are we really doing this for? Just don't paint a mural, those close to me advised. Now, this pattern of showing up with answers, of believing that we know best, it didn't start with US nonprofits or disaster relief efforts. It has older roots, and some of those roots lie in Christian supremacy. For centuries, missionaries and religious leaders traveled the globe with the intention of saving souls. But salvation in practice often, but not always, but often meant domination. It meant replacing local knowledge with doctrine, sacred rituals with approved theology, and complex cultures with a narrow sense of what counted as truth. The underlying message was clear. We have what you need, and we are here to give it to you, whether you asked for it or not. That theology, the belief that being righteous gives you the right to lead, beloveds, it did not stay in the church. It seeped into governments and economies and the stories nations told about themselves. It got absorbed right into the bones of United States imperialism. From colonization to manifest destiny to US exceptionalism to the idea that help from the USA is always a gift, even if it arrives through force or erasure. And it continues today, not only in mission trips or foreign policies, but in the ways we measure value, in the pace that we set, in the assumptions we carry, in the systems that we defend without even realizing it. Beloveds, this is the water that many of us swim in. It's part of what we now name as white supremacy culture, a culture that prioritizes control, urgency, individualism, and certainty. And while it's deeply connected to whiteness, it doesn't live in white people alone. All of us who've been raised in the United States, who've been shaped by these systems, carry traces of it. And part of what this immersion has done for me is to help me decenter the white supremacy culture of the United States, to stop unconsciously assuming it as the default, the norm, the standard against which everything is measuring. Decentering. Decentering means noticing what or who I have put at the center, whose stories I hear most often, whose priorities get my attention, whose way of speaking, thinking, dressing, or moving through the world feels normal to me, and whose feels foreign or other. Then it means stepping back so that other stories, priorities, and ways of being can come into clearer focus, and so we can begin to see ourselves more truthfully too. Let me give you an example. For much of my life, I didn't realize how much had been centered around me, around people like me. I grew up seeing people who looked like me in textbooks and on TV. Most of the politicians, CEOs, authors, religious leaders I learned about were white. The history I was taught was US centric, with European settlers cast as brave pioneers and indigenous people described vaguely. When I traveled abroad, I assumed English would be spoken wherever I went. When I watched the news, US concerns were always in the headline while the rest of the world was relegated to the margins, if even mentioned at all. This is what centering looked like. It doesn't usually feel oppressive. It feels invisible, normal, just the way things are. But it shapes how we move through the world. And when we carry that centeredness into other spaces, when we assume that others should adapt to us, speak our language, follow our pace, or affirm our worldview, we reinforce the idea that our way is the right way, even if we don't mean to. And here's the thing. Decentering can be disorienting. It's uncomfortable to realize that what we thought was neutral wasn't. And it can also be liberating. Being here in Mexico, studying Spanish, living with a host family, navigating unfamiliar customs, it's been deeply humbling. Not just because I'm learning about another culture, but because I'm being asked to step outside of the rhythms and assumptions of life in the United States. I'm remembering that the USA is not the center of the world, not morally, not culturally, not even spiritually. And yet, that's the story that many of us have been steeped in, a story that centers whiteness, wealth, the English language, Christianity, able-bodiedness, and individualism. Heck, we even call ourselves America for short, even though there are 31 countries on the continent of America. A continent, by the way, which includes a north and a south. This is a story that tells us our way of life is normal, universal, even superior, even when it's causing harm. But when we stop centering US imperialism long enough to look around, we notice that there are other ways of being, ways that hold complexity, contradiction, and beauty in a different balance. Here in Mexico, something completely different is centered. There's a long history of mezcla, a blending. While not pretty, the violence and domination of Spanish conquest here didn't lead to the mass murder, forced displacement, ethnic cleansing, and cultural assimilation and other forms of violence and oppression inflicted upon indigenous populations here in the United States. Instead, in Mexico, something new began to emerge, a syncretism of indigenous and Spanish traditions. You can taste it in the food, hear it in the language, feel it in the holidays. Even Catholicism here isn't the same as it is in most of the United States or even other parts of the world. It's more vibrant, more grounded in ritual, more deeply entwined with the land and the ancestors and their gods. This culture doesn't erase tension or loss, but it holds both legacy and transformation together, and it asks us to do the same. Back home, I think we strive for inclusion too, but even our best intentions can be shaped by this unconscious centering. Even in Unitarian Universalism, a tradition that strives for inclusion, the voices most often centered have been those that sound polished, privileged, and formally educated, often without including the voices of people living at the intersections of marginalization, people of color, immigrants, working class folks, disabled folks, queer and trans people. This is one reason we've started showing photos of the people whose words we use to open and close worship. It's a small but intentional way of asking, who are we quoting? Who are we lifting up? Whose wisdom is shaping our community life? And do we really see them? This, too, is part of the work of decentering. Now, some of us, especially those who are Black, Indigenous, immigrants, poor, trans, or otherwise pushed to the margins, some of us have never been centered in the first place, especially if we were raised outside of the United States. Some of you have spent your entire lives navigating systems that never fully see you. You don't need to be shaken loose from the center. You need others to do that work so that you don't keep paying the cost. So this isn't really a universal invitation beyond the fact that the vast majority of you are sitting in the United States right now. But for those of us whose experiences have been regularly centered, for those of us who've absorbed the myth of our own centrality without even maybe realizing it, experiences that disrupt the norm just a bit can be sacred. These experiences can interrupt the illusion that our way is the only way or the best way. They can remind us how much we have to unlearn and how much more becomes possible when we stop assuming that the world was built just for us. And when we do that, when we allow ourselves to be guests instead of consumers, learners instead of experts, listeners instead of fixers, something beautiful and amazing can happen. Earlier this week, we visited a place called Casa Tech Milko, a center where movement builders, artists, and community organizers come to gather, rest, and imagine what else might be possible. It's not a tourist site. It's not curated for visitors. It's a space built by and for the people doing the work. And they are building it using old ways and new, both physically in their buildings and lands and culturally in the work they do. We arrived not quite sure where we were or what we were doing there, and still they greeted us warmly. They invited us in, shared stories of the land and the people it shaped, and their traditional and sustainable building practices. And we listened, not as experts, not as donors, not as fixers, just as guests. We didn't tell them what they should do or how they could do it better. We listened. That is decentering. Letting go of the idea that our presence should be convenient or impressive or important, or that we have something to contribute. Being willing to follow someone else's lead, trusting that we don't need to shape the moment for it to matter. Before we left, they asked if we would be willing to help plant some trees. And I will admit, a big part of me wondered, wait, is this painting a mural in disguise? But I realized, no, we didn't decide what was needed. We didn't show up with tools and a sketch for a mural. They invited us in. And as we finished, one of the leaders said to us, your hands are in the land now. When we sit in the shade of these trees years from now, the land will remember that you were here, that we did this together. That is a moment that I will always carry with me. Not because we made something visible, but because we allowed ourselves to be changed. We got our hands dirty in their soil on their terms. We stepped out of the center and into relationship. May we remember the fragile, powerful monarch butterflies whose survival depends upon cooperation across time and across borders. May we remember the words for all ages, the children reaching across language and culture with humility and curiosity. And may we learn to notice who's at the center, not to erase the center entirely, but to ask, whose voices have we heard most? Whose stories have shaped the narrative? And who else needs to be here too? Because when we decenter voices of domination and control, we create space not for absence, but for presence, for stories of kinship and resilience and mutual care. Beloveds, this is slow work, and this is sacred work. And like the butterflies, it connects us to something ancient, collective, and both fragile and strong. May it be so. May we make it so together.
I'm gonna listen to love. But hear love's call. Gonna listen to love. Gonna be walking tall. I'm gonna listen to love. And I'll find my strength. Gonna listen to love. I go to any length. I don't need to be a part of any preparation to fight. Rather walk so happily in the sunshine than the darkness of night. The darkness of night. I'm gonna listen to love, and I hope to hear a way to walk in peace, away from all this fear. I'm gonna listen to love, and I hope to see a way to live in peace, a way to be free. Well, I don't need to be a part of any preparation to hate. I can walk so happily in the daylight. There's no reason to wait. There's no reason to wait. I'm gonna listen to love. I wanna hear love's call. Listen to love. I wanna be walking tall. I'm gonna listen to love. And I'll find my strength. Gonna listen to love. I'll go to any length. Well, I don't need to be a part of any preparation to fight. Rather walk so happily in the sunshine than the darkness of night. The darkness of night. I'm gonna listen to love, and I hope to hear a way to walk in peace, away from all this fear. I'm gonna listen to love, and I hope to see a way to live in peace, a way to be free. A way to live in peace. We all want to be free.
Thank you, Burkharts. I can hear now. So that's an interesting transition. So every month, UUI gives half of the collection that is taken during a service to a chosen social justice, a cause chosen by our Social Justice Committee. Excuse me. This month, the Share the Plate offering will go to Trinity Haven. Based here in Indianapolis, Trinity Haven is Indiana's first residential program specifically for LGBTQ+ youth, ages 16 to 24, who are experiencing housing instability. These youth are at a much higher risk of homelessness, and many avoid traditional shelters because they fear discrimination. Trinity Haven steps in to meet the urgent need with inclusive, supportive care that truly makes a difference. Their services include long-term transitional housing, short-term host home placement, and personalized support, including case management, education assistance, healthy meals, mental health support, and life skills coaching. So your donations empower LGBTQ youth to build stable, independent lives. So to give to that cause, and the other half goes to the work of UUI. To give, you can use your smartphone and text a donation amount with the word share, or in your bulletin there's information. You can also give at uui.org. For those here in the sanctuary, the ushers will come around with collection baskets. We now welcome your offering with gratitude. May it be given with a spirit of generosity and joy. Thank you, Linda. And thank you for your generosity in supporting not only the work of Trinity Haven for the LGBTQ youth in our community, but for the mission and the work that UUI does here in our community. So I had fun finding the closing words for this service. So I dug in and found some words that Lindsay Bates, who's a former senior minister at the Unitarian Universalist Society in Geneva, Illinois, had written. And it's entitled, "With Faith in the Creative Powers of Life." And it was inspired by the Quaker meetings. Quakers speak not of a worship service, but of their meeting. Hence this benediction, these words that Lindsay wrote. With faith in the creative powers of life, with hope for the future of life in this world, with love for all others who share this life with us, let us go forward together in peace. Our meeting has ended. Let our service begin.
Please rise in body or in spirit as we join together in singing hymn number 1016, Profetiza Pueblo Mío. We'll sing the chorus and first verse in Spanish, and then come back for them again in English with the second verse.
Profetiza, pueblo mío, profetiza una vez más. Que tu voz sea el eco del amor de los pueblos en opresión. Profetiza, pueblo mío, profetiza una vez más. Una nueva sociedad, profeta de amor, entrenador pia se fide a tu misión. Prophecy one more time. Let your voice be the echo of the outcries of the oppressed. Prophecy, oh my people, prophecy one more time. Announce to them the coming of a new society. Announce to all the people that justice promised long. Restore to every nation true peace throughout the world. Profetiza, pueblo mío, profetiza una vez más. Que tu voz sea el eco del clamor de los pueblos en opresión. Profetiza, pueblo mío, profetiza una vez más, anunciando de los pobres una nueva sociedad.
So if you'd remain standing and please join me in the chalice extinguishing words. They're on the screen and printed in your order of service. There we go. Now we extinguish the flame of our chalice. Or the fire of commitment. Let us keep those until we meet again. Go in peace.